discuss what I think the problem of consequentialist ethics is, and this is not like the only problem that it has. There are others that can be leveraged towards it. But consequentialist ethics is basically, we're talking about utilitarianism, which says that we should maximize utility or maximize basically happiness and pleasure and such, and it basically ascribes good and right action towards the actions that lead to the most possible happiness for everybody involved. It can be from just from one person to everyone, depending on who's involved in a certain action. There's varying kinds of consequentialism. The utilitarian theory was by J.S. Mill and Jeremy Bentham, and that's I think reading Mill's utilitarianism is definitely something that should be read, and then if you want to get more deeper into it, to read Bentham's Principles and Morals of Legislation, I think is what's called. I have it right here somewhere. But the problem with consequentialist ethics is a epistemic one, basically, and I've been talking about this a little bit in the past couple of videos. I've been talking about epistemic problems that can be leveraged towards ethics that are consequential, and this basically comes from Lawrence Bonjour, who when he was basically critiquing epistemic externalism in a article he wrote in the 80s. And externalism is a kind of epistemic theory which says that we can come to justification of our beliefs by something like reliable processes or certain causal connections. Alvin Goldman is a externalist, and he was a historical or genetic process reliabilist, and basically Bonjour critiqued all of it, and he kind of said that the moral analog to epistemic externalism is utilitarianism, and the reason is that both think that doing a certain action will lead to a certain consequence, and externalism says that has this belief because they think that by forming a belief with a reliable process, or forming a belief that has appropriate causal connections, leads to justified belief and possibly knowledge. Utilitarianism, or consequentialist ethics in general, believes this because they say, well, they ascribe good and right to any action that maximizes happiness for everyone involved. It says that if you do a certain action, that there are certain actions in every situation, every scenario that leads to the best possible outcome, and if you figure out what those things are and do those things, then you will have the most happiness. And it's kind of gives you some of those theories give you a way to do that, way to figure that out, and I guess that belief or that opinion that doing a certain action will lead to a certain consequence, and having that be the foundation of your normative ethics, I think is wrong because of the epistemic problem that Bonjour gives to externalism in his paper, which critiques epistemic externalism. And I think, in my opinion, I personally think that epistemic internalism is more correct. That's the theory that any justification to our beliefs. We have privileged access or cognitive access or mentally occurrent mental events, justify our beliefs. That's the various different ways of doing it. Basically, and I think that when he critiqued epistemic externalism, I think that Bonjour, he did very well on that. And I think that shows the problems with such a theory. And I think showing there's just like a little part in his paper where he shows that the moral analog to epistemic externalism is utilitarianism. And that I think spreads to all consequential ethics in general. And I think in the same token, he shows that any consequential ethics is also wrong for the very same reasons. I think that it's wrong to think that I think that it's okay to do it sometimes, because I think that the virtue ethics, the flourishing or the eudaimonia, which says that if you do all these things that it's likely that you will have a certain kind of flourishing. I think that's like a very minor thing in the ethics. It doesn't matter. In virtue ethics, the eudaimonia part is not near as important as the arte or the phronesis, which is the excellence and the practical wisdom. Those two things are much more important. I think it's okay to have a little bit of that in ethics that says that it's likely that if you be this kind of person, then it's quite likely that you will have a flourishing kind of life, and that's somewhat like happiness, but it's not in the the pleasure or the desire grounded things that utility is. And but basically, what consequentialist ethics does is it grounds its entire normative ethical system upon the belief that there are there are definite actions that will lead to definite consequences. And I think that's wrong, because it's just because it's just kind of wrong. I guess Bonjour kind of showed that a reliable process doesn't always give you doesn't always give you justified belief. He had cases of clairvoyant people, and that I plan on talking about in a different video relatively soon. But excuse me. I think that no more talking about the epistemology stuff of Bonjour and sticking to why I think consequentialism is plagued with epistemic problems, is because I don't think it's possible to know that a certain action will lead to the greatest possible happiness for everyone. I think that there are horses are running towards something. I'm curious what it is. Oh, they're just crazy. Okay. There are states of affairs that are connected to other states of affairs. It's just like you can almost think of the world as just a bunch of relations of facts, and facts related to other facts, because that's basically what a state of affairs is. It's a fact. The fact that a certain glass has a few certain properties and is in a certain place related to other particulars that have other properties. That's relations of facts, that we can build upon those and just describe the world via states of affairs if we so wanted to, and I will for this current discussion. There is only, the world is, it's a bunch of relations of facts that is all related together, that creates the fabric of reality, if you will. And when we act, and just in general, we only have knowledge of a snippet of those relations of facts. We do have knowledge of quite a few of them, but it is not possible for us to know all of them, and it is not possible for us to know even 25% of them, because the world is so vast and large. Because then there's so much of it there that it is not possible. It is not humanly possible for us to have knowledge of all of the relations of facts in the entire world. We can only have knowledge of and about a certain snippet of it, and that's how we live, and that's how we make our decisions, and that's how we act. That's the way we live our life. We think about these relations of facts that we do have, which is actually quite a lot in itself, but quite small compared to everything that we don't know. But we look at all these things and we make judgments, and we make decisions to act in certain ways based on the reality and facts that we do have. The problem is that consequential ethics states that we should act to maximize happiness for everyone involved. And the problem is that all of this relation of facts that we do know about, and then we do make our decisions by, are related to everything else that we don't know about. And the truth is that in making a decision to act in a certain way, we may think that it is the thing that will maximize the most happiness, that this certain action will produce the most possible happiness that we possibly can, when it is in relation to some other relation of facts that if we knew about some of these other relations of facts, we wouldn't make that decision. So the problem I see here is that we don't have enough knowledge of everything in the world in order to always make the right decision. And in fact, I think it's usually the case that, given that all of us make mistakes, most of us usually will, we will usually act. That's usually how we act. That's kind of like a thing that's seared into our mind, and that's basically how we live. We live by how we think will be best for everyone, and will make everybody else happy, including ourselves. But we all make mistakes, though. We all make mistakes, and we all mess up, and we pay for it, and that's how we, get better at life. But we all still make mistakes. And I think the fact that we make mistakes shows that consequentialism is not the right ethics to live by, because we have acted in ways that we thought was the best possible action that maximizes happiness for everyone involved, when in fact it was one of the least actions that maximizes it one of the least ways. And I guess my point is that we can make decisions based on what little info of reality that we do have. When we don't have info about the vast rest of it, we can't ever possibly have knowledge that any of our actions will maximize happiness, or will be the best possible action, or is good at all. because we don't have knowledge of everything, and since the relations of facts that we do know about, is related to everything that we don't know about. It's not it's not cut off from everything else. If it was cut off from everything else, we'd be fine. But it isn't. So there's a lot of varying factors that could come into play when we're acting, when we're doing action. There's a lot of things that we don't have knowledge of that could make our action very well not the thing that maximizes happiness the most. And if I haven't given enough explanation of my point, and you